Oh, hi everyone. Welcome to our webinar. Today we're going to be talking about this particular course, and I'm really excited because it's one of my favorite topics, and it's a play. I don't know if you're aware, but children these days are just not playing enough. I believe it's a right of a child to play, isn't it? I think it's UNICEF who is promoting play as the right of every child in this world. And it really is sad that one of those most beautiful thing in a childhood, just the free play, and it's kind of diminishing. So it's important that you kind of acknowledge that and try to promote the importance of play in children's life, but also in adults' life. I think we also need a little bit of play and a little bit of fun in our life. But I'm going to pass it on to Holly. Holly is a tutor and she's also an assessor. Holly has a degree in childhood studies and she's been working in childcare for about 10 years. She has an amazing career of going around the world and setting up nurseries in China, Maldives, London, and currently in Switzerland. So lots of interesting experience, lots of different cultures, which I'm hoping you're going to bring once we're talking about once you're delivering the course. The difference and the different cultures and kind of approaches to play. So I'm going to hand it to you over, Holly. Thank you very much. I also wanted to know to tell you that there are going to be questions at the end, but if you have a burning questions, please feel free. We can cover it. We are a small group, so yeah, just go into the chat and ask the questions. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. We're very grateful for the introduction. So good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you are in the world. And welcome to this. As Regatta lovely said, we are going to look at a small element today about play. But this is part of our one of the units that we're going to deliver within this course. So this is just a taster. So I'm hoping to still get you the feel of what you're expected to achieve on this qualification. Which is an award in preparing to work in home-based childcare. So, you know, nannies, childminders. Today, we will look at the benefits of play, discuss play, how it's necessary for the development of children, explain the benefits and how to balance child-initiated and adult-led play, and that I'll go into a detail the difference between child-initiated and adult-led, in case you don't know. Inclusion is essential in the world now. As Regatta said earlier about me being all around the world, it's definitely essential. Even for me, I've worked in so many different places and I have to learn inclusion, but I also need to do it for myself, include myself in things. So we'll look at that, and then we will have a course overview of what the whole course entails and how to get onto the course. And then there's questions if you wish, but please feel free to ask as we go. So just to get our minds active before we start, I was just wondering if you could look at the word play, and just while you sit there, just think of a couple of ideas or words that relate to the letters. So what type of play or play activities can you think of for each letter? So for example, I've got painting for P. Just give yourselves a few seconds to get your mind active. I can give you one. I can give you Y. Yoga at the moment is amazing for children and actually for adults, all about our well-being. In this day and age, I recommend that anyone who wants to work with children has a yoga session, even if as a childminder in your living room. Baby yoga, there's toddler yoga, all different types of yoga. So yeah, just think of those things. Letter A could be a letter collage. You know, you could have different letters of the alphabet cut out, put sticky paper behind them, like tissue paper, and make it like a stained glass window. You put it up on the wall, on the window. And A could be, for older children, maybe an additions activity. So lots of different things. So for anybody who works with children, doesn't matter if it's in a school or if it's a childminder or if it is in a nursery, you have to understand the EYFS. And the EYFS stands for the Early Years Foundation Stage. It's a curriculum in the UK that sets the standards for everybody who works with children for learning, development and care from children from birth to 5 years. And EYFS really does underpin play in all aspects of children's development. So regardless of what area you're looking at, there's 7 areas within the EYFS. Play has to be incorporated in all them, and children will develop all those 7 areas: communication and language, physical development, personal, social, emotional, the 3 prime areas, comes through play. As it says there, they learn their language, their emotions, their creativity, and their cognitive development or intellectual development, however you want to call it. Most play is natural and spontaneous. Provide resources for children and they will let their imagination run wild. But some children do need that extra support. For example, it could be a toddler who's got a shape sorter. He or she may understand that when you rattle it, it makes a noise, but they're not sure of how the object comes out, on which area it goes in, what hole it goes into. So you might need to model that, show them how you use the shape sorter. Also very common for children with any additional needs. So for a child, for example, who may be autistic, they see things very black and white. They don't necessarily see the world colourful, and their imaginations are a little bit more restrictive. So you need to allow time and support them and give them that little bit of help to think outside the box and maybe demonstrate how they can expand their imagination through play. And the environment, using indoors and outdoors, children will explore and discover from their immediate environment. So, where possible, get out. At the moment, very common is forest schools. And even as childminders, you can do things like this. You can take them outside. You can, as long as they're supervised, you can climb the trees and you can make bonfires and put marshmallows on the bonfire. These kind of elements are really important. Bring the outdoors inside. Any kind of play like this, let them run free. And this also comes under risk taking. Encourage them to take risks, because through risk taking they learn their boundaries. But it also it's very lovely. Unfortunately, we grow out of it, but children don't have fear. And that's how they learn their boundaries, by pushing themselves through their play, experimenting and exploring the world around them. Play fosters their curiosity and imagination and their exploration. And there's no right way to carry out play. It's about allowing children to explore and experiment in different ways, using different objects, raw materials. Don't restrict their play. So cars are beautiful, for example, but they go back, they go forward, they can go up the ramp, they can go down the ramp. But is it expanding on their imagination? Not really. So we as adults need to provide those raw materials, the sand, the water, the Play-Doh, the soil if you're outside, the cooking ingredients. And this will allow their imagination to run wild, and it will allow them to explore and discover and stimulate their own senses. Encourage children to taste things and smell things and touch things, and this will nurture an awareness and an understanding in the world around them. We do play a crucial part as adults, but we just need to be there more for them to invite us into their play instead of imposing ourselves on their play. And it's okay to sit back and observe, but as Rebecca said in the beginning, we as adults are reducing children's play, so we need to be aware of this. So scientific research has shown that what play does, and it changes the mind, it develops their understanding. There's a connection between the part of the brain that controls their thought and their decision making, and this helps children regulate their emotions and set boundaries, and actually also create and see things from other people's perspectives. So yeah, it's really important that they can learn through their play. It develops social skills, talking with others, communicating with others, making friends. Again, setting boundaries and rules that are fair for everybody, especially as they get to that preschool age. Children of that age love rules. They don't, you know, they get very upset if you break their rules. So give them the chance to create their own games and let them create their own rules. It keeps them active physically and mentally, and that is obviously healthy for us as human beings. There was a study in 2012 looking at 14 different studies around the world, actually, that found that the children perform better at school and with their attention if they actually get to play for at least 15 minutes before any other activity. So for example, if they get to go out for recess, they call it like play outside in the morning, the activity after that, so 11 o'clock say, they actually had a higher percentage of children would pass their English and maths exams, qualifications, lessons, to the children that didn't get unstructured play. And what I mean by not having unstructured play is the sense that lots of times now, especially within schools and especially within nurseries and even with childminders or nannies, they're expected to do like boosters. So if a child is struggling, for example, in a subject, maybe in their language, they spend a little bit more time with a teacher or with an adult to embed learning in that sense. But actually those children tend to suffer more than the children that were allowed to go off and have unstructured play. So outside in the garden or, you know, off in the corner doing something imaginative in the role play area. It improves sleep. Actually, they say that if you get 20 minutes of sleep a day, or 150 minutes, sorry, of playtime per week, which is about 20 minutes of a day, it improves sleep up to 65%. And 65% is huge for a child. So, you know, if you've got a child that goes down after lunch in the morning, make sure you spend time playing with them endlessly or let them explore. It improves ADHD related behaviour. For anybody who doesn't know that, it stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactive Disorder. And these tends to be for children who have this tend to find it very hard to sit still and focus. So they recommend that you allow those kind of children, or all children, to go off and have the freedom. Again, outside is brilliant, but you can do things indoors. And this helps them with their concentration, which obviously then reduces their aggression or all of our aggressions. And it fosters our creativity, allows us to be imaginative and push up past our norms of what we normally think. And actually, as it's proven, all scientists say is actually we should go out and all play, even as adults. It's enjoyable, it's good for our social and physical well-being and our mental health. It's proven that children and adults that actually do something exciting, you know, get physically active or play something that they really, really enjoy, it actually reduces depressive symptoms and anxiety. So as much as adults, we want to help children and play with them, children are actually born, it's innate in them to play. That's how they learn. We go to work and their play is kind of like their work. And it's a natural drive within them. They get excited to try it. So it's a fundamental overall to their physical growth and their physical health, their emotional well-being, and their social and language development. And it, like I said earlier, extends the creativity and imagination. Play is endless. Their imaginations can run wild. It comes in different forms and dimensions. So it's described as engaging in behaviour that brings enjoyment, fun, and amusement. It can also be spontaneous, limitless. So like I said, there's no final outcome. It can just go on and on and on and on. And lots of children, especially preschool children, will start an activity and still be playing it 3 weeks later. You know, every time they go back to the home area, for example, role play area, sorry, they're following the same rules and they've got the same game going on. We shouldn't intervene necessarily, unless they wish to invite us into a place. If they want you to be the chef, then be the chef. And it also involves things like toys, you know, like I said, the Kyles earlier, the dollies, and it promotes all play, regardless of which resources they have or don't have. It develops learning naturally.
Can I just interrupt? There was what you're saying about adults getting sometimes too much involved in the play, and we shouldn't interfere unless we are invited. There is quite interesting story I heard from a nursery recently. They had a group of boys who decided to make a concert. And every day they did the same thing. They created tickets, put the chairs, sold the tickets, and that's it. They were doing every day the same thing. And teachers were like, what's going on? You know, where's this concert? So the teachers decided to make a platform, got the musical instruments, make it all kind of fancy. And children were like, what's going on? They just were not interested. For them, doing the concert was actually the tickets and doing the chairs. And that was enough for them. So it was kind of quite a good example how sometimes we think we are helping, and actually the boys went somewhere else and started doing something else. They were absolutely not interested in doing the concert.
Yeah, it's happened many times.
Yep.
Thank you for the sharing, it's lovely. If you just have a quick look at the photos below, again, just a very quick thing, just to get your minds active so you don't have to listen to me all the time. If you look at the 3 pictures, what do you think these 3 things are saying? What kind of activities can you see? I'll give you an example. For the first one, someone who's just looking straight at the photo might say, okay, well, it's physical, you know, they're learning to kick a ball, play football. So yeah, they're developing their coordination, their balance, you know, getting stronger, but it's also teaching them rules. It's also socializing, they're working in a team. There's so many different elements to what children do and how they interpret their play. With the football particular picture, there's kind of an end result. You know, if you play a game, you play for X amount of minutes, and then you win or you lose or you draw, you know. But it's an enjoyment that they're getting from it. They've chose to do it. Whereas if you look at the final picture, which is of the 2 girls, it looks like one's a doctor or a nurse, and they're looking after their baby. It's in role play. Now, this kind of activity is endless. These are the kind of things we were talking about, where it can go on and on and on for weeks, and it could be something simple. One of them may have visited the doctors or the hospital, and they're imitating, they're copying what they have seen. And real life situations is what children absolutely adore. That's how they learn. They copy us as adults. We role model to them. So as much as they don't necessarily want us to interfere in their play, they have observed us doing something. So that's why I say, when you're at home, if you're you know, a childminder or a nanny, and you know you're cooking something, get them involved. Allow them to, if they come over and they want to talk to you and interact with you, get them the right equipment to allow them to cut the vegetables. Or, you know, if they want you to play in their role play area as a chef, you act as a chef, but let them guide you, because that's how that embeds their learning. And the middle picture of a lovely little baby doing shapes, putting a puzzle together, you know, he's learning to negotiate the space and the shapes and how you fit it into a space. And you know, it's good for his fine manipulative skills because of the way the little red pins are popped up at the top. So different puzzle sizes for different things, but every activity allows a child to really get engaged.
I would be quite interested if anyone's got an experience in what we're living through right now, the COVID and children play, using the pandemic in their play. I have another story from a nursery where they were a bit confused and really not sure where this is going. The children started to chasing each other. They had a COVID child who was chasing each other, other children trying to infect them. And they were kind of like, oh, shall we interfere? This is a bit, you know, but they kind of let them go and let them play. And suddenly they became scientists. They started doing this vaccine. So because they left them to kind of just get on and they observed them, they kind of found the solution themselves, which had a kind of happy ending. So I was wondering if you guys have any experience in in that kind of play would be nice to hear. But I'll let you to get on, Holly, and I see if there are any comments.
Perfect. Yeah, it's very true. I've got a little girl actually in my setting who she's 18 months, and every single object she sees, she puts her hands over and rubs them together as if she's putting sanitizer on them. But you know, it's the world we live in. Child-initiated play. So as I said in the beginning, I'd explain the difference between child-initiated and adult-led. So this is the style of play where activities are completely directed by the child. So like I said about the role play with the nurse or the doctors, you know, it's completely down to them, their freedom of choice and what they choose to play with. For me, it underpins everything within early years. It allows them and the need to experience in order to explore the world around them and experiment. It provides children, it's important that we provide children so they can try out new things. We need to provide them with the resources just so they can develop that process of how to use something. But yeah, any activity you do, painting, you know, is a beautiful one. It's messy play, you know, allowing them to touch the textures and everything. But like I said, there's no final outcome. Okay, they might paint a beautiful picture, but it's from their imagination. The EYFS encourages child-initiated play, like I said, and this will help them develop their confidence. It allows them to try new things in the environment, which is safe and secure, yet challenging, but we have set them, you know, so like I said, indoors and outdoors, where they can move freely. Simple things like a obstacle course that you create in the garden. These kind of things are brilliant. Even though it's guided, you can get them to set up their own obstacle course, you know, it's never ending. Adult-led play does play a big role also, and this is very important if you kind of want to do assessments on children, but also is if you actually have an outcome, you want an actual outcome. So for an example, I'll show you on the next slide, but if you, for example, you have a Mother's Day card or a Father's Day card that you want to create, okay, you might give them a variety of resources, then there'll be so many things that they can choose from, and what they decide to create with that resource, those resources, is completely down to them. But the outcome is something. You are going to have a card that is going to be given to mummy or daddy for Mother's Day or Father's Day. So, you know, it's much more it is guided by the adult. But in an early years environment, regardless if it's in a home-based environment or in a school or nursery, you need a combination of both, and this will facilitate learning and development in all areas of a child's development. For us as adult-led, it is a central part of play. Like I said, it's made very good for an occasion if you want to make a card or something. All we have to make sure is that we have the resources ready for the children to use. Facts, as we said right at the beginning, you know, lots of things have happened in generations that we have reduced how much play we do actually as adults as well with the children, and what we kind of put in the way for children to do play. So if we look at some of the facts here, in the 1970s, or compared to the 1970s, children now spend 50% less time in unstructured outdoor play. They don't spend half as much time outside as we did with my parents, you know, or my age, you know, in the 30s. And as we said at the beginning, I have moved around the world, and currently in Switzerland, they have to, by law, spend at least 3 hours outside. Of those 3 hours, I try to make sure that at least 2 of them is completely unstructured play, which is the sense that they have the freedom to try whatever they want. You know, we have music wall, we have water play, we have swings, we have footballs, you know, all these different resources that are there that they can choose and they can use. They can bring stuff in from indoors, outside. They don't necessarily have this in the UK. 3 hours a day seems a lot, but broke over a course of 8 hours, it's really not. And I will tell you, it's very true. Children that play outside do sleep much better. The majority of my early years sleep better. In fact, I have hardly any preschoolers here that stay awake. And yeah, their behaviour, I think, is much better since the Swiss government extended the outdoor playtime. But unstructured play is what it comes down to. We take them outside and we have structured play. You know, we do activities out there, but those moments where they can use their own imagination is much more beneficial to them.
And Holly, is it all weathers?
All weathers, yeah. We have a saying that I've printed and put onto our door: no inappropriate weather, just inappropriate clothing.
Oh, that's true. So, and how do you manage with all these probably wellies, hats, and getting them out?
Yeah, it's logistically drilled, should I say. Yeah, it takes time, and for any new teacher, that is actually part of their induction, you know, labeling things and knowing how to do it. But to be honest, our children here from a babies are brilliant. They know where their belongings are. They try independently to put them on. The teachers help them as and when required, but they will tell you, even if you've got 4 pairs of yellow boots, they know that that's their yellow boots, you know. And it's just put back in the same location. Okay, nothing's perfect. Things do get a bit confused, but they go out regardless. And we always have spare. So if there's any chance that one's gone home to be washed, we always have a spare. With disinfecting everything, obviously, because of the COVID situation. But yeah, it really does make a difference. Anywhere I go now in the world, I'll always say, make sure they play outside.
3 hours. Wow, that's amazing. And is it for schools as well?
Schools is slightly reduced. State schools is different. So state schools is much more outside. Private schools, unfortunately, and not so much, and I think that's because they have so many more extracurricular activities, which is part of what I'm going to talk about now. But yeah, so yeah, get outside, that's what I recommend.
Thank you.
So factors that contribute to the current decline in play, I kind of just said one there was too many extracurricular activities, so especially for older children, but even now common for younger children, is that, for example, I work with a part of an international school, and I just completed an extracurricular program that starts next week for them. And there is at least 3 subjects every single day. That's 5 days a week. That's 15 activities. Some parents have signed their children on to 2 a day. Now, if you come to school at 8:30 and then you go all through the day studying, and then you do 2 hours at the end of the day, and it's brilliant, you know, piano, it's amazing, you know, music and movement, it's really good, but it's structured. They do extra activities that will develop their sense of how to play a piano, but they're missing out on the free play time that they really need and really deserve. And, you know, that's modern society, you know, that's coming down to us putting targets on children, you know, their academic grades, wanting to be the best, what they can achieve in the future. But actually, facts and figures show that children that play and truly play unstructured are just as academic as ones that you sit and give them structured. You know, they have more freedom. They're much more, we call it, learn through the world kind of thing, you know. It's more practical, you know. Pros and cons to both, but you cannot take away unstructured play. Obviously, increase of screen time is a huge factor now. Going to a restaurant the other day, I saw a little 2-year-old who was sitting at the table and watching, I don't know, maybe Peppa Pig in German. Yeah, things like that has really taken away children's playtime. And also the safety concerns outside. It says here 85% of people said that TV and computer games were the #1 reason for lack outdoor play, but 82% identified that it was because of crime and safety concerns. So depending on where you are in the world, obviously those figures do change, but this is the UK. 82% is huge. Yeah, and 10% of our children have never been to a park, a forest, or a beach, a natural environment. So, you know, where you can get them out and about. But if you read the middle bit, this is really nice. It's a proven fact that parents or adults who talk as they go about their daily activities, so washing up, cooking dinner, hoovering, as they talk to their children, they will develop 1,000 to 2,000 words every single hour. So, you know, when you're playing with them, whatever it may be, talk, talk, talk. They will let you know if they want you to stop, trust me.
I'll show you.
Yeah. Playing together is one of the most effective tools for building strong relationships. So playing together, that comes under children playing with each other, but it also comes under us. As much as I keep saying, allow them to have unstructured play and let them invite you in, please do let them invite you in, but they want you to be there. You know, they might want to guide you to be a certain role in their imaginative play, but children love having adult interaction, especially if you're positive. So find the balance between adult-led play and child-initiated play. Allow them to take risks, but you also need to risk assess. You know, make sure that wherever you're allowing them to explore the environment, that it's safe for them. Provide them with plenty of toys with multiple purposes, things that can create problem solving, which helps on their creativity, and this will be endless for their imagination. What we can do to support them, we have to observe and understand that children's needs and preferences change. So because a child is fascinated with dinosaurs this week, might mean that in a day or 2 weeks down the line that his or her preference has now changed to unicorns. You know, understanding those preferences and putting those resources in place and having those toys that cater for their needs and their interests will allow their imagination to run wild. And is it suitable for their age and stage? Like I said, if you've got a shape sorter that's suitable for an 18-month-old, okay, a 5-year-old occasionally might go to it and want to play with it, but they're not going to get stimulated from it. So we just need to make sure that we understand their level of development and give them the resources and the environments to cater for that. And just make sure that the environment is always safe. I can't emphasize that enough. This is rather important, actually, something to know. And you'll see this when you observe children, the different stages of play. Lots of parents come to me and go, well, he just doesn't seem to have any friends. And it's like, well, no, that's not the case. He's at that age, or she's at that age where she isn't ready, or he's not ready to sit and play with a child. They might be sitting next to each other. Doesn't mean they're not friends. They just haven't got to that age or stage in their development where they understand the concept of playing with somebody. And this is a very common question for parents, especially as they come out of that baby into that toddler area, age, they start to panic. From 0 to 3 months is unoccupied play, and this is where they'll move their arms, they'll roll around, and you know, they're kind of fascinated with their fingers and things like that. Solitary play is when, exactly like it says, is when they play completely on their own and they have no interest in playing with anyone else. They, you know, people are around, but they ignore them. Spectator or onlooker behaviour is around about 2. 18 months to 2, but mostly 2. This is where a child can be observant, watched, a bit more wary, seems a bit more introverted, is kind of a bit suspicious of what's going on, wants to join in but doesn't. Parallel plays where most parents will say, well, why are they not playing with their friends? They're sitting next to them. This is where they will sit next to them. You might have all the blocks out in front of them, like the picture, but they're not really interacting. They've got their own blocks, they're building their own towers. This is completely natural. They have to go through these stages in order to really understand. Then 3 to 4-year-olds, they really get involved in playing with each other. They really like to cooperate. And 4 up is cooperative play, and they'll love, especially things like role play. This is where they really get involved. They're both interested in what the other person is doing. So, you know, they see a group of children pretending to be princesses, they want to go and be a princess as well. They, you know, they really want to get involved in the task at hand. This is good to know as well. These are different things we should provide the children in order for them to really feel the benefit through learning through play. So for 0 to 6 months, you know, allow them time to see bright coloured toys. You know, they're fascinated with lights and with noises. So sensory play is brilliant for babies. Give them mirrors so they can see expressions and be expressive in your face. You know, when we talk and when we move and when we do things, use your body language. I always talk with my body language. You can probably see me on the screen moving around. This is just how I interact with children all the time. And it kind of gets them much more engaged in what you're saying. So even if they don't understand your language or your meaning, they can see through your positivity and your body language that you're trying to converse with them, and babies love this. Slightly older, they please try as much as possible to put them on their tummy. Tummy time, in my opinion, is essential. It's good for their core. It helps them to learn to roll. It'll help them to stretch, to learn the movements for crawling. So things like tummy time, sitting them up with things behind them and putting the toys around them so they can stretch for them is really good for their physical development. And anything with sound, musical toys, common household pots and pans. The amount of times I used to see children, as I was a nanny for a few years, and literally they would sit at the cupboard and pull the pans out and bang, and no matter how many times you put the pans back, they'd get the pans out. You could have all the toys in the world in front of you, but that cardboard box or that pan was all they wanted. So, you know, when they do that, allow them to. 1 to 3 year olds, this is, yeah, they're starting, as you can see from the picture, these kind of shape sorter activities. They're fine manipulative skills. They love make-believe situations. They're very creative, very physical, hopping, jumping. They're not quite got the concept of hopping, but, you know, standing on one leg. And then 4 to 6, which I absolutely love. Role play is endless, you know, story time, where they can listen to a book or a music audio book, and then they can imitate what they and they go off and do things freely. You know, it's lovely. Inclusive play, this is essential, like I said, in all parts of the world, and especially in the UK now. We have to ensure as early year workers that we incorporate and include children and parents, regardless of their ability, their background, their culture, their age. Equal opportunities is essential. So, you know, or common thing is how do you support a child with a physical disability? Lots of people are saying with a wheelchair, put a ramp in. But, you know, it's just understanding things like their culture. You know, if you've got a child, for example, language wise, maybe, you know, if you've got a Polish child and they've only just moved to the UK, and you're looking after them, get the parents to write down a few words that in Polish and translate it into English, so you can converse with them, and, you know, then you can add it to the play, and, you know, have a few words up and pictures around that they're familiar with. So there's no excuse. We should be able to, and especially in this day and age, we should be able to find resources to cater for everybody. And that's exactly what it says, providing a range of play activities for children that is going to incorporate any kind of learning, socializing, risk-taking and challenges. And there's an element of this course actually where it goes into more detail about inclusive play, and I'll give you some local authorities that you can go to find out where you can get extra resources to take them to, and things like that. As I said earlier about the EYFS, the earliest foundation stage, huge element in development matters and in EYFS, all about equality and diversity, and they will be things that I will ask you to reference. You know, go on to gov.uk and it's got so much, it's got everything about education. So, you know, these are the kind of slides on there that will help you with any in-depth knowledge to add, but I can give you the links and the resources and things like that throughout the course that would help you, would support you to answer questions for those particular things. But this is a lovely slide just about equality and diversity, but I would give you more in depth on the course.
All the slides, sorry Holly, I just want to say I'm going to send all the slides to you, so if you want to make notes, don't worry, you're going to have all the slides. I'm going to send it to you tomorrow.
Perfect, thank you. And then why do we need to be inclusive? Well, we definitely do. We need to make opportunities available for every child, regardless of their disability or background, as I said earlier. Inclusive play shouldn't be something special we do for a particular child. We should do it for everybody. You know, it doesn't matter. We just adapt our skills and our knowledge to cater for that child, you know. So if a child, for example, is struggling to hold a pencil or a pen, you get a fatter pen or a pencil, you know, to help their fine manipulative skills. If a child can't hear properly, you find pictures or photographs that you can show them, you know. You speak slower, you know, if you have to wear masks, you find a mask that maybe shows your mouth, you know. There's lots of ways around different things. We welcome and celebrate the richness of the diversity. The one thing I miss about the UK living abroad is actually how diverse it is. I'm from London and it's just amazingly diverse. And I think this is a gift that every child should see in the world. And I have experienced it in other countries, but I would say London, personally for me, is probably the most diverse. And the children that I taught in London really understood that, you know, and that was a few years ago now. So I can imagine now that it's moved on a lot. So yeah, just find lots of inclusive areas. Like I said earlier, I would find you local authorities and that could support you to find things for inclusion and diversity. And then what we need to do, so we need to provide a wide range of teaching strategies based on the learning needs of every child. We need to motivate and support the children, and we need to plan individually for their care and learning requirements. So it could be any kind of additional needs. It could be something simple like trying to teach a child to wash their hands, you know, that maybe is struggling with, you know, something to do with their hands. So it's just little things that we can find in place to put them there, and just be effective in everything that we try with them. Make it fun, you know. Washing your hands can be a fun activity, making bubbles and things like that. It's very, really good. So that
I can take over now if you want to. Okay, just wanted to mention that I can't remember which borough it was in London, but generally in London we speak 250 languages.
Brilliant.
So that tells you about the diversity. And yes, when I came to London from Eastern Europe in 1996, where I didn't meet people from other countries because it was only a few years since it came out from communism, so we were not allowed to travel. It was a kind of quite a shocking experience. But when you get involved in the communities, you realize how much interesting that is, you know, knowing people from countries that I never knew that even existed, religions different. It's quite amazing, but it does take for us to step out and wanting to learn, because it's very easy to kind of not know and be wary and not be sure, but we really need to make an effort. And it's really, I feel very enriched and lucky that I live in London. Okay, so back to the course. So this is, you just heard the part of the Level 3 award in preparing to work in home-based childcare, where we prepare you to work as either as a nanny or childminder. You can skip this slide, Holly. Sorry, Holly is in charge of the presentation. So when you complete this qualification, you can progress into various job roles like childminders or childminding assistant, nanny, or any kind of childcare in home-based setting. If you already are working as a nanny, or if you're a childminder, you might still want to take this qualification, because it does increase your prospect and your credibility having NCFE and Cache certificate. It's a well-recognized qualification from around the world. I believe you teach the same qualification, Holly, in Switzerland, right? Is it in China as well?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Yeah, so we had a few years back, we had the Chinese government, kind of representative of Chinese government coming to our school, wanting to learn more about the qualification. They knew quite a lot about NCFE Cache, so it is well recognized. So once you have it, you will be able to present yourself probably all over around the world. Next one. So this qualification has 3 units. The one unit is preparing to work as a home-based childcare, and then you have 2 options. Either you're going to prepare to set up a home-based childcare business, meaning to be a childminder, or you take unit 3 and you looking into a position if you're planning to work as a nanny or you're working as a nanny. So in terms of unit 1, We go through the legislation and regulation, safeguarding and child protection, health and safety, promoting equality, diversity and inclusion, day-to-day care routines for children, working in partnership with parents, agencies, and anyone who is basically involved in a child's life. You will learn about children's learning and development, obviously the play that we little bit went through today, and the role of the of observation of the child. So Unit 2, that this is the one for childminders. You're going to be learning how to lead and manage your home-based childcare setting. You're going to learn about taxation and any financial requirements when setting up a home-based childcare setting. We'll help you to create a business plan, and we'll give you all the information you need to become a childminder. For a nanny, you're going to learn about partnership working, because as a nanny, you're working with parents. Sometimes, you know, the working with the child can be the easy bit. It's the parents who are sometimes difficult, and I can say that quite confidently, because I was a nanny working in London for 8 years, and then I worked in nanny recruitment for 17 years. So I have lots of experience I'm happy to share with you and help you on your journey of being a nanny or to become nanny. You're also going to learn about role of advisory, guidance and support services for the role of a nanny. And that's basically it. In terms of to achieve this qualification, we will expect you to show us a portfolio of evidence from assessment. You will be given some tasks that you will need to complete. We will be assessing your work through portfolio of evidence, so written assignments and completed tasks. This is a knowledge-only qualification. There are some qualifications where you have to be observed in your work placement, but this is not it. That's why this qualification is really good if you are working in a home environment, but don't want to work in a setting. If you wanted to work in a setting as a qualified child carer, then there is a different qualification I would advise, but please get in touch. I can give you more information. And we also are going to have a introductory session, I believe, end of this month for the Cache Level 3 diploma. So how do we deliver? We do online weekly lessons via Zoom, just like today. Obviously, life gets in the way. You not always will be able to attend, so you will be able to access the webinar lessons online. We've got a platform that will give you access to, so if you cannot attend, you're busy, or you just wish to watch the lesson again, then you will have access to it. Then we use Course Direct to upload your work onto for marking. This is a qualification that is through a Cache and NCFE. So it's not only our internal assessor will assess your work, but also external from a Cache to make sure that what we deliver and what work you produce is of a good standard. Hence, this is why the Cache NCF qualifications are recognized, because they have a very good standards. And if you need that little bit of extra help, we always have a one-to-one with Holly, in this case, for extra support. You will have access to a calendar, and you will be able to book a session if you need help with usually it's the coursework, especially when you start. Sometimes it seems a bit daunting. So if you need a little bit of help or push, we are here for you to help you. So this is the best about this qualification. Is open to many, so there are no formal entry requirements, but you have to have a good level of English, and you should have some early years experience, because working with the children is not for everyone. Well, so we require commitment from you. It's about the weekly lessons are about 1 to 2 hours. We try to keep it to 1 hour rather than go towards 2 hours, because we do, most of our students are working full time. So we don't want to, get you too tired so you don't listen. So 1 hour plus, it's ideal time. But we will need you to spend a little bit of time on putting together your assignments, and we guess it should be about 6 hours per week across those 8 weeks. Why it's good to study with us? Many training centers just offer pre-recorded sessions or presentation, and you just kind of left on your own. We do live weekly sessions. We found that people who are in a group of other students tend to finish their courses rather than just kind of keep postponing. It gives you also the sense of environment, group of other people who are like you, sharing their experience, sharing their knowledge, always kind of enriches us. Our courses are designed for people who are working. That's why we say earn as you learn. You have a time to work full-time, but also because we do our sessions either in the evening or Saturday, you have a time to visit or join our live sessions. But as we said, because everything is pre-recorded as well, you have an option to do the both. So there is not too much pressure. If you are too tired, if you cannot come, there is always way to catch up on your study. You get support from a specialist mentor. We've got few teachers involved in our courses, so we have very different kind of input into our courses from different experts. And as I said before, you have access to your mentor or teacher through the email, or you can arrange a special call. So our next course is starting on 22nd of September. There is another intake in January. So for this cohort, we're going to do weekly virtual classroom session at 7 p.m. I believe it's Wednesdays, yeah. And they would last approximately 1 to 2 hours. It's an 8-week course. And as I said, again, all available pre-recorded on our e-learning platform. So this is the example, what you're going to study. You're going to receive it so you know exactly what is happening. So if you want to sign up, just go to our website, arrange a short interview. Just want to make sure that your English is good enough and you're ready and you kind of know what is required. We do need you to do those assignments. We just always want to make sure that you went through the session, so you probably, it's not as needed for you, the interview, but sometimes people think that they don't need to do assignment, it's enough to attend. So we want to make sure that you understand that there is expectations on you. We charge 370 for the course, and we also offer a monthly installment plan, and it's 4 monthly installments of £95.